Hey guys, it's CodeZealot, and I'm back with another tutorial for Java Edition, this time showing you how to use the trigger command in Minecraft. So let's go ahead and jump right into this tutorial and see how we can use this command in our worlds. So what I have set up behind me are a couple of command blocks here that we can use to learn this new trigger command. And I say it's new in that it's not a new command to Minecraft, but I don't think I've ever done a video on this before. And so it's a little past due because this is an old command, but it's a very useful command that you should know how to use. And so let's go ahead and see how we can use it by checking out this first command block. Now, inside of this command block, we have our scoreboard objectives command, which creates a new objective with the criteria type of trigger. And this is the criteria type that you need in order to use it with the trigger command. So in order to use this objective with the trigger command, it has to be of the criteria type trigger. So if we go ahead and use that, you can see we've created a new objective called myTrigger, and now we can enable that trigger for all players. So before you can use a trigger scoreboard objective, you have to have it enabled for the player. And so we do that by using scoreboard players enable, and then our target selector, in this case all players, and then the name of our objective that has that criteria of trigger. So if you remember, our objective is called myTrigger, and so we're going to use this command block to go ahead and enable that trigger, and now we are able to use the trigger command with that objective. So if we look at this command block, we can see that this one is responsible for adding 1 to the value of our score. And so let's go ahead and use scoreboard objective set display sidebar so we can see what's happening. So we want to do that. Let's set display to the sidebar for our objective, and we can see that we have a value of 0. Now, this is what makes trigger so special. Basically, trigger is something that you can use only one time before you have to have it reset in order to use it another time. So if I go ahead and hit this button, you can see on the sidebar, my score increments to 1. And if I try and use this command block a second time, you can see that nothing happens. And the reason for that is because we have to re-enable this objective for the player who's already used this trigger. So if we go back and use our second command block here, which is responsible for enabling this trigger, we can re-enable it for ourselves. And then we can now reuse this command. And you see now I have 2 as the value because it added 1. And if I try and use it another time, I cannot do that. I have to re-enable this trigger in order to use it. So if I hit that, I can now make this 3. So it's pretty simple how it works, but it gets a little complicated when people try and understand trigger commands sometimes because they're like, okay, I understand how it works, but what would I use this for? What is this actually useful for other than just, using this command one time and then having to reset it? Well, you can use it to make things like a function that runs several commands at once and then resets itself. And that way the player cannot continuously run that function over and over. So let me give you an example that would make a lot of sense. Say you're creating a map and you want to give the player the ability to get some sort of kit. Maybe, they get a diamond sword and a diamond chest plate and something like that. Well, you want to be able to use that in a tellraw command so they can just, click it, or maybe you want to use it in a command block and they can just click the button, but you don't want them to abuse it. You only want them to be able to use it one time. And that's where the trigger command comes in handy. So if I go ahead and reset my score here for this objective, so let me just go ahead and do that quickly by doing scoreboard players set, and then I'm going to target all players, and I'm going to set this objective back to 0. And now when I try and use this command block, you'll see something interesting. Right now, I'm not able to use this command block, which is going to be a chain of commands, which basically is going to represent our function, something we could put in a data pack. But in this world, I'm just using command blocks. And let's see why it's not working. The reason it's not working is because we want to run trigger myTrigger here, and we want to add 1 for that value for this objective, but we can't do it because we have not enabled this trigger for ourselves. So if we go over here and we enable it, and now when we try and run this, we can see that we are given the kit. However, if we try and run it a second time without re-enabling it, we are not able to get that kit. And the reason for that is because we're using trigger here in order to access all of these commands in this chain. And in order to use it another time, we have to re-enable it. Now, we've been using @all for all players here, this target selector, but you can use any target selector here that you want. And so you can maybe just re-enable it only for one player, after they've done a certain thing, you want to re-enable it. So say maybe you're making a quest where the player can complete this quest, but only once every so many days, then this may be a case that you would want to use trigger because you could re-enable that command after, so many days have passed, and that would allow that player access to that chain of events once more. Now, let me show you one last example here before this video concludes, and that is how you may want to use it in a tellraw circumstance. So inside of this command block, I just have this tellraw command in here. Basically, all this does is it shows this get sword text on the screen, and if the player clicks on this, it will give them a diamond sword. But you don't want players to be able to continuously, give themselves diamond swords. And so a lot of times people will use the trigger command to handle something like this. Basically what you would do is instead of running the command, give @s diamond sword, you would run a function, and that function will work just the same way that we saw this chain of command blocks work. Basically, you would, give them the trigger of 1 or whatever value you want to test for. And you could use, instead of add, you can do trigger set. So you could change this to a different value if you wanted, but we're just using add here because we just want to use 1 if it's true and 0 if it's false. We're basically using this like a Boolean variable. And then if it is 1, see we're testing here. If it's 1, then we want to give them a diamond sword. We want to give them a chest plate, give them our diamond helmet. And then the last step is basically just to reset the score back to 0. And that's the end of our command block function here. So guys, that's it for this tutorial on how to use the trigger command in Minecraft Java Edition. My name is CodeZealot, and if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and also comment down below about what other video tutorials you'd like to see on this channel. Also, if you guys enjoy Minecraft Bedrock, please go over to my second channel, which you'll be able to find down in the description below, and subscribe over there. I haven't put any content up lately, but I'm about to get back into uploading to that channel, so be sure that you don't miss out when that happens. Thanks guys, and I'll see you all in the next video.